And a very good morning. Welcome to a Saturday preview of today's racing. Ascot, hopefully at Haydock, which needs to survive an 8 a.m. precautionary inspection, and also at Wincanton, where we've got the Kinwell Hurdle, a race that, although I probably won't be having a bet on in some ways, is probably the most important race of the day for me in terms of one of my anti-post bets for Cheltenham. But we'll come to that in a bit. I hope you're all, it's Friday now, and I've just found out about an hour ago that Southall's off tonight, which gives me a bit more time today, so I'm not rushing around. So I thought I'd do a video preview rather than do the writing today on what's going to be some pretty desperate ground, I think, at Ascot and certainly at Haydock. I mean, if Haydock goes ahead, it's going to be last man standing stuff again. It'll be fairly unedifying stuff, and I think you can sell finishers at about 3 for the Grand National Trial. We'll come to them when we come to them. I mean, we'll start with the Ascot card. We'll look at the TV races because they're obviously the ones that people are a bit more interested in. We'll start with the Reynoldstown, where I had a little chat with my good friend, Mr. Delagi, this morning. We're both in absolute agreement that the one to be with here, well, he likes 2 in the race. He likes Fernhill and Geoffroy. I'm just keen on Geoffroy, to be perfectly honest with you, down the bottom there. And he's been put into the rank outsider. I think that's wrong. I think he probably should be around about a sort of 4-1, 9-2 chance for this. It'll be interesting to see what the market makes of him tomorrow. I don't see how you can have Corach Rambler 7-2 and Geoffroy 9-1. Now, I know Corach Rambler beat him fair and square at Cheltenham, but the ground was much quicker that day. It was genuinely good ground, which Geoffroy doesn't want. He wants some cut in the ground. And he wasn't beaten that far. He was beaten 12 lengths by Corach Rambler. He stuck to it. He's £9 better in tomorrow, and it's worth sort of bearing in mind that Geoffroy won on this Ascot card last year. He won the Handicap Hurdle that's later on the card. So he acts around Ascot. Soft ground's very much in his favour. I think he'll improve plenty. And Laura Morgan's now, they're just having winners for fun. Another double at Leicester. Yesterday was a double. Might have been a double at Leicester yesterday, and win a day before. Where they've really found stride now. I think there's a lot to like. I think what he'll do, he can go from the front, but equally he's just as happy to sit in behind. And given to varying extents, the other 4, I think Animal Invictus might go forward a little bit, but Fernhill will definitely go forward here, I think, and try to put his good jumping to use. And he did jump well. He jumped very well at Newbury, actually, when he was second there. I see why Rory thinks he's the danger. I think Fernhill will lead. I think Geoffroy and Animal Invictus will sit in behind the other 3. They'll all be held up to varying extents. But I just think this is a bet because the market's wrong. If he's anything like the sort of 9-1 that he is now in the morning, I think that's fair. I think anything sort of 7-1 and bigger is a fair price for Geoffroy here. And he'd be my selection for the Reynoldstown. Onto the Swingley Chase, where do you just row in with the favourite here? Do you just row in with Fiddler on the Roof, who he's now starting to come back to the, certainly when we last saw him in the Hennessy Stroke Ladbrokes Trophy, looked a bit more like the old Fiddler on the Roof. He's got entries still. It is worth bearing in mind he's still got entries in both the Gold Cup and the Grand National to come. And if they think he's Gold Cup standard, then he needs to be winning this really off 155 if he's anywhere near Gold Cup standard. I get why you'd still leave him in at this stage. It's an open Gold Cup, and he was very much considered Grade 1 material as a novice. He's got to give the weight away in bad ground. He'll go with some cut. Whether he really wants it hot deep or not, I'm not entirely sure. I probably weigh in that we're going to get extra places with this, and there are alternatives. There's only 10 runners, but chances are we're going to get 4 places, and I think that definitely brings Fortescue into the equation. He's a horse I've always liked, and he's now starting to show what a good stayer he actually is. The third at Haydock to Royal Pagaia last time was just about a season's best. He was £3 out of the weight there, so effectively he's gone up 3. He's off the same mark here. All he did there was stay in bad ground. I think that will be Fortescue's selling point going forward, because again, he's got a Grand National entry, and again, if they want to be getting him in the Grand National, then he's weights are already out, but you know what I mean. If he wants to prove himself as Grand National class effectively, then he needs to be winning races like this. I think he'll go close. I don't think the right-handed track will be a bother. He went around Kempton the time before perfectly well. I had a suspicion he might be better left-handed, but that's not proving to be the case at all. He's won around Perth and he's run well around Kempton now, so that's absolutely fine. So all he'll do is stay in bad ground. Hugh Nugent gets on really well with him, gets a lovely tune out of him, and his jumping's improved. It was a little bit ropey early. It's improved with as he's learned, and I still think there's more to come from him. So I like Fortescue a lot. I think you'll have a job to kick him out of the frame. He'll get the race run to suit as well. There are one or two front runners in here. I could see Trucker's Lodge going from the front. Ask Me Early always goes from the front. I don't like Ask Me Early at all at the price, by the way. 100 to 30 is I think it's a lousy price. I mean, given we're going back over fences here, and there's been reports of him falling at home in schooling sessions and whatnot, I think it's a poor price, 100 to 30. There's some sexy looking form figures by his name, but it doesn't take a lot of digging to find that that he's not quite as good as it all looks. And I think he's a poor price. You've got Como Lobo, who ran well there last time, and one more stride might have beaten Cat Tiger, but he's very inconsistent. Goodness knows what he's going to do tomorrow. Venetia runs Hold That Taut. He's held by one or two of these on form, but he's got no weight. Listen, I know he's 14 years old, but I couldn't quite bring myself to put the pen through Regal Encore here, despite the fact that he's 14. This might be, maybe this is going to be his swan song, I don't know. I mean, he's utterly inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get, but he has had wind surgery, and he's had wind surgery twice in his career and won once after wind surgery. So that might help him. I'd have been happier if he'd have had a longer break almost since his last run here, because he's a horse, I think, that benefits from sort of 100-day plus breaks and then sort of catch him fresh. If he'd had the wind up with a 100-day break, I might have liked him even more. Listen, he's going to be 20 to 1 plus, and the market will ignore him because he's a 14-year-old, but I couldn't quite bring myself to put the red pen through him. And if he keeps drifting out and is a stupid price tomorrow with the extra place, I could see myself getting involved to small stakes. But really, I think it's the interesting pair for me are Fiddler on the Roof, who should have, ought to have the class to carry this off with Limestone 12, and Fortescue, I think, with a stone less on his back, nearly a stone less on his back. He's interesting too. 3 o'clock is the Handicap Hurdle. I thought again, a discussion of the race with Mr. Delorgy this morning. We're of different opinions a little. I certainly get the case, of course, that Good Risk at All, they were aiming him for the Betfair, and he looks particularly well treated still, off a mark of 127. If you go on his form of last year, when he was beating the likes of I Like to Move It, that now looks in incredibly good form. But I'm happy to. At 15 to 8, do I really want to play it? The 3 runs he's had this year, I get that it's all been, leading up towards the Betfair and he didn't get in. But all the same, none of those runs have come anywhere near, and I'm a little bit, do I really want to get involved at 15 to 8? If I don't get involved at 15 to 8, then really it might be a race that I have to leave alone. The only one that I could possibly back against him would be Zaccone Rebel for Toby Laws. Now, I've been sort of banging on a little bit about Toby Laws on these videos, that he wants, what Toby wants is not necessarily numbers, he wants quality winners, and a Saturday winner will do him no harm. He was entitled to win that Norris Hurdle at Ludlow, and he did it well. I think he's still on a good mark. Now that he's back in the handicap, I think there's a lot to like about him. He's still fairly unexposed. I think if there is one to beat him, it might be him. And in a race that lacks improvers and interesting ones, again, we're going to get 4 places here, maybe even 5 at a push. Zaccone Rebel really only has to go around in one piece to get himself in the 5, and you're getting an each way. You're basically having an each way swing to nothing at sort of 11 to 2, 6 to 1. So I think I think if I'm going to have a bet on the race, it will probably be him. I get it. If Good Risk at All absolutely hoses up, fine. I get it. But I think Zaccone Red Bull offers you a perfectly reasonable each way alternative. Then we've got the Ascot Chase, which is as tricky as you like for a Grade 1, isn't it? You've obviously got some old favourites in here. Dashiell Drusher winning this last year. Fakir Duda, we know all about now, and for all the worries for all the concerns I had, I mean, he certainly didn't stay 3 miles, but he gets this fine. Lost in Translation, won the 1965 Chase. It looked a bit more like his old self, but then back to Kempton he went and chucked it in again. Yates Kempton. I wouldn't be surprised if he bounced back. I do like Mr. Fisher. I fancied him a bit for the. I thought he might run a better race than he did for the King George, and then he made no mistake back at Kempton last time. He's got, and that form of course now looks a bit better, beating Eldorado Allen. That looks a lot better, and the ground won't be a problem for him. Easy case to be made to St Calvados, of course, who there's had a couple of meh rides from Gavin Sheehan really, and he probably regrets going as soon as he did in the King George. Probably used a bit of the petrol up too soon. But listen, I've banged on for 12 months and got laughed at. Got laughed at the time for suggesting that when he was running in handicap, for suggesting that Fanny and Destrol might be a Grade 1 horse. I think this might be his chance. His low slung jumping style is well suited to Ascot, and whereas I don't think it is at Cheltenham. I think that's the problem. If they're going to Cheltenham with him, his jumping will always be a concern. But on this flatter track at Ascot, I think his jumping's absolutely fine. He's shaped like the best horse last time out when he was second to Phoenix Way. Lucy Turner perhaps pressing the gas pedal a little bit too soon. He got very tired late and got picked off, but he's shaped like the best horse. He travels really strongly. His jumping is better now. He won't mind the ground. I think if he's ever going to win a Grade 1, this is his chance tomorrow. And as long as his jumping holds up, and as I say, that's been better this year. He was making mistakes last year, but it has been better this year. I'd be hopeful. I'd be hopeful that this is his chance and he can prove me right, and that I don't look such a fool after all. So I think I'm going to go with Fanny and Destrol to sort of pick Fanny and Destrol to pick Dashiell Drusher off late. I think is the way I'm looking at this, but it is an open race and you can make cases for a few. Over at Haydock, where, as I say, it's already heavy. They're expecting more rain, snow on top of it, and it's not going to be pleasant. I didn't really like the shape of the Rendlesham. I wasn't mad keen. I initially wanted to take on Thomas Darby. He's just not a horse I can particularly trust. Thomas Darby, if he's on a going day, he'll probably win it. If he's not on a going day, he'll probably be out the back. And with that and only 6 runners, I couldn't really get very interested in him. Molly Ollie's Wishes is obvious enough. She gets the mare's allowance. Did it well at Ascot. You can argue my sister Sarah gave her too much rope, but I think she's pretty much proven now that she does stay 3 miles. That's twice. She did it here at Wetherby earlier in the season. I think she's sort of shown herself absolutely fine at the trip. That's not a bother. But I've got slight concerns about the Dan Skelton yard form at the moment. There's too many pulling up. Is my worry. Dan Skelton horses rarely pull up. Even if they don't finish their race off, they still complete. But you look at his recent form and there's a lot of pulled ups. There is a winner in there, like the Constance winning for him, but I'm now starting to get concerns that at the moment they're not running particularly. He's not been picked up this, but they're not running particularly well, and that's a concern. And if I take them 2 out of the race, then frankly, I might as well spin a coin up for the other 4. So it's not, third win's obvious enough, I suppose, but you give him a chance of having won the race before. But again, then this is probably his level. He's not a horse I'm madly in love with anymore. Just a race, I think, from a betting perspective, I'm either going to lay the front pair or avoid it completely, and I'll make a decision in the morning. Then we've got the Grand National Trial, where, as I say, how many of these are still going to be standing at the end? Again, the obvious one to go to, is Black Lion, but we go back to the Dan Skelton form again. He's twice run around here in soft and heavy ground this season and still look like he's got more to offer from his mark, despite the fact that he's 13. He really has had a resurgence this year. Secret Reprieve, I just can't back. You know, for those that read the pointers, column punting pointers that we do with Rory, I just struggle with Evan Williams as a trainer. As a punter, backing his horses, I find him incredibly hard to read. And I certainly don't want to be backing this at 11-4 for all that he got the potential to hose up off this mark. On card, tried 3.5 mile. I assume he looked like he didn't quite get it. He held every chance. He traded short in the run that day, very short. He traded 2 on and faded on the running quite badly to finish 5th. And I thought then, you're just a 3 miler, aren't you? There could be money for him tomorrow, but I'm not mad keen. Again, I couldn't work out what price Bristol de Mai should be here. Should he be 6-4 or should he be 20-1? The way I've looked at it is this. You know, the Lingfield run last time when he was 3-2 for gold was definitely a better run, a step back in the right direction. Heavy ground at Haydock was always very much his thing. My worry is that Lingfield run was only 27 days ago, and now he's coming here. Will he be able to reproduce that run after just sort of under a month off, really? Back in the old days, he'd be able to, when he was a younger horse. You know, he could come out after a month and win. If he's over those exertions at Lingfield, I think he's got a really good chance here. I mean, this is his first. I was looking last night. I think this is his first handicap for about 6 years, because obviously since then he's proven himself at the top level. And I know he's got a lot of weight, but he's still quality. We never lose quality. He's still a quality horse, and the handicap has given him a chance here. Considering how we were talking about Black Lion and what a chance he got, he's 13. Bristol de Mai's actually only 11. You think he's been around longer than that? Again, I just can't work out whether he should be the favourite here or one of the outsiders. It's one of those. If I believe the Lingfield run and he's over it, I think he should probably be shorter than 10-1, because he's got a chance to outclass. I mean, when you look, he's only got to give £9 to the likes of Lord of Menil. Now, I love Lord of Menil, and again, I get, you know, Haydock's very much his thing, and he will stay, but he's only got to give him 9. You know, I'm looking and thinking he might be able to give the weight away here, despite the fact that the ground's going to be terrible. So again, it's a case of sit and wait and see. I think see what price he comes out at in the morning and what places we're getting. Over at Wincanton, we better mention the Kingwell, because really this is a race. I've put Adagio up each way for the Champion Hurdle a few weeks ago. I've got a bit at 33, a bit at 28 each way. He stands to win me a nice sum of money, because I think at the time when I was looking at the Champion Hurdle, I'm thinking how many of these have got the potential to take a step forward and shorten the betting, and Adagio was really only one of probably about 2. Then Chargers come out, who would have been very much in the mix for the places. So I think now, if you take Honeysuckle out, and the more I start looking at Honeysuckle, you know, you're thinking, is she absolutely bomb-proof, Honeysuckle, on the day? It'd be interesting to see what the market makes come the time. But anyway, back to Adagio. He's got a really good Cheltenham record now. He's run at the place 4 times and placed 3 times and won once, and of course was second last year in the Triumph Hurdle. I thought, I was at Cheltenham for his comeback run behind West Cork, and I was doing the notes that day, and I thought he would definitely come on for a run. I thought he looked a bit big. I was surprised he ran as well as he did. And with that, I sort of immediately put him down as an interesting one for the rest of the season. He's had that small setback. He pulled a muscle before Christmas, so he's missed a couple of targets, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing now. He comes here a fresh horse. Now, the question is, tomorrow, you know, does he beat Goshen or not? He's getting £3 off Goshen, so you've got that. But equally, you've got to remember that Goshen is coming here off the back of nearly a career best at Sandown in the Contenders. We know he's match fit. We know he wants a right-handed track, and he'll have his ground tomorrow. So there's a lot in Goshen's favour. It isn't the end of the world tomorrow, I don't think, if Adagio doesn't win with regards to his champion hurdle prospects. If he comes there and he's got every chance at the last, and then, you know, Goshen's just got a bit too much for him on the running, I haven't got a problem with that. In fact, hopefully then he'll drift a little bit and I'll probably press up, because off the back of that, he should come on plenty. And as I say, you know, Cheltenham's very much his track. Cheltenham is his track. We know that. So I think there's a lot going for Adagio. I think what they want to see tomorrow is that the engine is still perfectly intact after his small pre-Christmas setback. And if Goshen wins, Goshen wins. I mean, if he comes out and beats Goshen tomorrow, all right, he shortens up. He probably shortens up off the back of that. I hope people don't tell, oh, well, he's only beaten Goshen, because, as I say, Goshen's come off the back of a really good run. I've never been Goshen's biggest fan, but I can appreciate that he's in form at the moment. His last 2 runs signify that he's back to something like. So you've got an informed Goshen that has his conditions tomorrow. How near can Adagio get to him is the key. And I think if you can get near to him, I think that's a good run. So, as I say, it won't be a betting event, but in some ways it will. It could shape that first day of Cheltenham for me. What is the best bet tomorrow? I like 40 skew each way, I think, against Fiddler on the Roof. The more I look at the race, I think there's only 2 or 3 I could really have on side, and you're getting a decent price about 40 skew, and we're going to get an extra place. So I think 40 skew each way at Ascot will be my best bet tomorrow. Have a good weekend, guys. The wind will still be about. Stay safe, and I'll do some more of these video previews in the run up to Cheltenham, hopefully. Thanks a lot.